وَمَا خَلَقْتُ جِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ or liyabadun. I have only created jinns and men's, ins and jinns, that they serve me. And I say that because we know that ins and jinns include all of those special creatures, and especially jinns that they sometime they might refer to foreigners. And I heard a group of jinn reciting, the Quran, and a beautiful reciting. So those were foreigners, probably. They was reciting it, the Quran, and they liked it. Beautiful reciting. Then jinn refers to something that's unseen, like even microorganisms and things that you have to look at in a microscope. They would be considered technically as jinn because they're not visible. Whatever their creation, whatever their position, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I only created men and jinn that they serve me. And then the word is ila liyahbudun. That, ibadah, that they serve me. And so, when I'm speaking today, I want everybody to keep in mind that everything in creation is meant to serve Allah. And nothing happens in the creation without the permission of Allah. The jinn or any of those angelic personalities, we are not people who believe in the fallen angel or Lucifer, that was a fallen angel. He got mad and he said, why? It's very simple. The angels don't have the power to do that. Whenever you read the Quran, it said, we only hymn your praises. We only follow what you laid out. And when they object to the creation, you're going to create somebody that could hear that everything is working perfect and balanced. Man, if something dies, there's ants and other animals that eat that thing up, and what they throw out is fertilizer. If nobody get to the thing to eat it up, it still fertilizes the ground. It does, everything works perfect. In the perfect world, in the way Allah created everything, the streams are purified every 1/4 of a mile. That's in the old days, because of the sand and everything, and any small river or stream, all of that water was spring water. It was just fresh and clean as it could be. Because even if it was polluted, it runs in that stream, and it gets polluted, it goes over rocks, aeration. You know what I mean? You give it time, it's going to be clean. So everything in the universe works perfect. I mean, okay. So people would say, what about oppression and misery and pain and all of that? And that's a very good question. If you were to ask the question now about the United States and its behavior, if you were to look at Iran, it's 7,000 miles right now over there, trying to get everybody's mind off the foolishness that Don is in over here, right? Or think about something else. And the people over there are saying, no, man, you don't have no business over here. What is your purpose for being here? His purpose is as a troublemaker. That's the only thing he's ever done, is made trouble all over the world. And then if you look at Iran, now Iran is doing good. Iran is doing good. Iran, they're using the immunity that you get when your body cures yourself of they're using that blood or plasma to give to somebody else. The United States is trying to use it now too, but they give it to other people, and it has some work. It's working a little bit, and Iran was evidently the target because China was hit in Iran, both of them, number one and number two. China cleaned it up right away. They cleaned it up right away. Can you imagine all those 1.2 or 3 billion people clean that boy up in a hurry? South Korea cleaned up in a hurry. Everybody that got off quick. So Iran got off relatively quick, and it can't get anything from anybody else. It can't get any, It can't get any of those things. It can't get anything. It tried to get loans from the International Monetary Fund and medicine. It has to produce its own everything, which, believe it or not, is good. Iran just put its first satellite. When I was in Iran, time before last, or 3 conferences ago, it was they was mad at that movie Argo, what was that? Hollywoodism conference. Because Iran was really mad at that. And they would get mad at movies like The 300, which basically happened, but they would be mad. They said, well, you go back 3,000 years to dig up the thing, the 300, which they did. Those guys, they stopped the Persian invasion. They did. But why you gotta go, see, because everybody else that's on their team gonna look at that like, yeah, the Greeks did it then, we descendants of the Greeks and all that, those are our homeboys, and we can do this now. But you think about it, America has never won an encounter with Iran. You may not remember Tabas in 1980 when they was trying to fly over to get the hostages, and the helicopters was crashing into each other. And Imam said, he recited, Alam tara kaifa fa'alla rabbuka bi ashabil fil. You know, and all of a sudden the helicopters was crashing into each other, and the sandstorm, Ababil, look at here. The sandstorm just, hey man, it did him. That did Carter in. That did him in. After that, he didn't have no chance of winning. Not to change the subject, but then we know about Karoubi and them and those other guys that met in Geneva sometime later on the October surprise. A lot of people don't know. But see, these Republicans say, hey man, you can't do nothing with us. That might have been them. Whatever happened. The October surprise. Keep those spies until the whole thing is over. They didn't let them go till, hey man, they inaugurated Reagan, then they let him go. That was mean. But that was the Republicans doing that. Iranians wouldn't have no reason to do that. But that was part of the deal. If you do that for us, we gonna, do this. Now remember the way the Republicans look at it, hey, we're gonna promise the world, but ain't nothing you can do about it. If you say you made a deal with the devil, with the great Satan, you made a deal with the devil, me, right? You got to think about it. McFarlane in '87, you remember his Secretary of State? McFarlane. Remember when he went over to Iran and gave them guys a cake and some pistols. And they said, well, the pistols are somewhere, he said, and the boys ate up the cake. You know, the guards, they were sitting there hungry, and they just ate up the cake. How would he just flew into Iran. How would American head of almost Secretary of State, is he third in line for the presidency or fourth? He might be third. President, vice president, yeah, Secretary of State. Yeah, Secretary of State is third. How would the third in line go over there and, was it Castle Army? It was McFarland. He went over there. How would he go over there if he didn't have some homeboys over there? I'm gonna get back to the subject. What I picked up was everybody's reaction. I was watching Rafsanjani. I used to love him and his lectures, social responsibility in Islam. And all of a sudden he was on the defensive. I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I don't know nothing. I said, there you go, that's him. You know, anyway, so I only created men and jinn and they serve me. So if we see some things that are absolutely the most wretched and terrible things that you can imagine, like the war in Yemen. Like the war in Yemen. You might think, why would Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, you know, Al-Malik, Al-Qudus, why would the Creator allow those things to happen? You see? Okay. They might say, look at the United States. The United States is trying to take the guns from people in the United States, their Second Amendment, but he sells guns all over the world. He's a top gun seller in the world. Of course, only the arms manufacturers get the money, but he's a top gun manufacturer in the world. Why would the Creator allow those things to happen? Well, that's the question that the angels was asking. You mean you're going to create a mufsid, somebody that could create mischief and spread blood? Because before that time, those other characters didn't exist. So Allah is going to create the human being, and he's going to create the guy or the crew to help that human being develop, become stronger. Do you ever notice that I'm always saying, yeah, I said this, that, and the other, specifically? Why? Because the United States will put more heat on the Islamic Republic so that the United States will identify who the strategic allies are. Why? Because what's coming, and they're moving, I give our allies super credit for their upward motion, but they have to get bigger. They have to get bigger. The same thing with us. Why do you just look outside. The little yellow car, I just spent $400 on the car. The guy said, oh, it's just a little signal change. So that meant it just needed a few something in the computer, just change that little thing, and yeah, but he come back a little while later, he said, no, it's a such and such, it's gonna be $400. I said, okay. If you look and you see that van out there, it's the best running van, but somebody just stuck a gadget in there and messed it up where, you know, it don't start good. And I knew that they was gonna do that to that one because the people that had some vans said that that's the one that they would steal, and they stole the other one, a Chrysler. That, I don't know if you remember, I used to have a white Chrysler out there, white Chrysler van. They stole that, and then they drove it around to the Negro neighborhood right across 295. The Negroes was over there. And the police called me and said, your van is over here. I said, my van is over here. I said, y'all stole that van. Y'all must be crazy. Well, if you want it, you have to come over and get it. So I come over and get it, and I look at the little ignition is there. I stick the ignition in, take the screwdriver and start it up and bring it on back. You know. We have pictures of we called somebody to do the electricity over there in the house. It's the same person that we called to do the electricity for that copying machine down there. When we got it, but must have been 10 years ago, that thing was super futuristic. It'd do both sides. You can point this and it'd do the same ones they have in all them other staples and everything. You push the button, it'll staple the stuff, it'll do both sides. Technically, it does everything but write the book for you. But it takes a bigger 240 or something like that. So I called a brother, us back then, to just, we got all that juice downstairs just to make a plug that'll fit in that. And it didn't happen. If we called somebody to just come and fix the water over there, we didn't talk to them many times. They just don't come, or they come when they get ready. And it's not the first time. We know what they're gonna, we know what they're gonna do, okay? Our attitude also with the system is that we have to encourage the system to do more to us so we can elevate ourselves higher. Because whatever they do, the stuff they've been doing, we was used to that 15, 20 years ago. And we know the rule that you have to, it's not necessarily wanting certain things to happen, but you have to encourage them to happen. That's what I was just talking to my son in California about. I said, go by the county office and, see where the taxes are on the building, on on our school and on our masjid. And I'm doing it on the phone. I was doing that because I just got I got this letter a little while ago. It's about notice of overpayment. That they said that they overpaid me for June 2017. And that I have to pay them back for that month. It's $1,363. Well, usually that ain't a whole lot of money, but right now we need all the money we can get our hands on. But this is bull crap. Not only the lady, the house was on Section 8, she didn't leave that house to 2019. So she went 2 years without paying any rent, right? The water is not on in the house now. I use my house, but I go across the street and get buckets of water. Big buckets, no problem. Because they left with a water bill of, I don't know, a couple of thousand, somewhere around there. And I don't mind not paying it, but I'm not paying it now. And I'll do without the water. It's healthy, for me it's healthy. because it keeps you from getting sweetie pied, and I need this and I need that. Well, just if you got to go across the street every morning and get 2 buckets of water, if you want to bathe, you have to have 3, just for the heck of it. You don't need, but you want to do all that, and you do it every day. So that means you have to go across the street. It helps keep you in shape. You look at it like, this help keeps me in shape. I have to go across, I have to carry it, and when you get older, it's actually helping you. Your shoulders and, taking 2-3 gallons, 15 gallons of water back and forth across the street is healthy. Okay, so I wanted them, now they didn't kept me out of the building. The taxes were probably up to around, first they took the money out of the bank and gave it to Mukhtar and them, right? Then they didn't tell, I was still putting, if I went to the program in LA and I done made some money selling books, which I did, and CDs, I put the money in the bank. They hadn't even told me, you can't get no money out of there. But they didn't have no right to give them the money. Okay, we haven't challenged them yet. We will when we get ready. We'll challenge them when we get ready. I've had 8 arrests there, 4 the last time I went out, and I kept going back and going back. And because that's what I want to do. I want to be arrested, And I want them to exaggerate. The same thing we do to Iran, we do it and Iran and our allies, we do it to ourselves. We do it on purpose. Everything we do basically is on purpose. That's why I'll get into representative of the oppressed very soon. But when it says, I have created the jinns and men that they serve me, the jinn is not there, they're not there to challenge Allah. It ain't gonna work, right? They're there to challenge a human being. So all the fitna that's in the world, it comes from the lack of the human being's ability to tussle with the shaitan. Tazkiyah bil nafs, purification of nafs. And this is the thing that the angels was, a mufsid, he could shed blood and create mischief in the land. And Allah said, I know what you know, but I know what you know not. Okay. And then he said, well, tell me the nature of the names. The names mean the nature of things. So the angel said, we don't know. He said, so with Adam started naming everything. Let's say, there's a bear, there's an elephant, and along with that name goes their characteristic. You see what I mean? And then for everything else, Allah gave him hidayah. Remember in the same ayat, right? He gave them guidance and direction to solve the whole problem. All right. From those things that are seen and unseen. The world we live in right now is unbelievably mean. It's not only what happens in Iran, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, the murders and things of Palestine. Yeah, y'all prayed, right?
I prayed before I got here.
Okay, yeah, that's what okay. Yeah, so go ahead with him if you didn't. Right. So now, representative of the oppressed. Now, does that mean? I don't know if y'all remember, but I have said in many lectures that at this period I was going to take credit for the thing that I don't know if anybody can remember exact, but I said I would take credit for these things that are happening, these things that are going on. Okay. If we take credit for things that we can see, psychological guerrilla warfare and all that, then the stage we're at means that we're taking credit for that. Not me and you, but the representative of the oppressed. I'll put it that way. And normally, we would have to study away psychological guerrilla warfare, rebellion, revolution. All those are things to fight against oppression. It appears that we're way, way past that. And this time, we're going to have to participate in the modern science fiction type world, but also in a world that is wide open to opportunities. We're living in a world that we're doing exactly what we want to do. The life we're living is exactly the life that we want. You know, there's some license place that says, happiness is going fishing, or something like that. I don't know if you ever see. Well, happiness for us is fighting the system over and over again, over the decades. And, well, happy, why would you be so happy? You know, everywhere we look now, we can see, oh man, the oppression, the global oppression is so mean and sad that it is really unbelievable. If you take what the United States is doing all around the world, it's like the great Satan would do. Saudi Arabia is backing the invasion of Yemen. Yemen has already had cholera, all the hospitals are bombed, all the schools are bombed, all the facilities in Yemen are bombed. And it's not only cholera, but it's all this coronavirus and everything all mixed together. And you can see that Saudi Arabia can go into embassies or have people come into their embassy. They can cut them up and put them in a box and go home. And it's okay. Nobody says anything about it. Can you imagine? Or the Israelis can slaughter Palestinians and deny them any building material. Because they say, well, if you can get in cement to build your houses, you could build bunkers for... That means you can't do nothing. And so they steal all their land. And they say they're the only democracy in that part of the world. And the Hindustani government is upsetting the Muslim minority, which is 200 million people, And it's okay, because India is a democracy. I was rereading about Waco. Waco happened down in Texas 25, 26 years. Goodness gracious, it's a long time ago. Maybe 28 years ago now. 93, something like that. Good God Almighty. That was a while back. And when you read about it, even they had a program on, was it Netflix the other day? I just happened to be, I had seen it pop up on the thing, and I said, Waco, I knew about that. It's going to be a brainwash, about Waco, and the FBI is going to be good guys and all that. So the other night, when I went home from the class, I just pushed away. I watched a minute of it. As soon as it came on, I sat up straight. It was telling the story about like it was. About the FBI, first the ATF came in, and they didn't have no reason to mess with the people. They showed an ATF agent that went in and tried to trick them, and he started liking them. And when they was coming to raid the place, he was trying to wave them off. They drove right past him, and then they raided the place, and they got wore out the first time. And then they went through this whole, remember that radio stuff that was on TV, that was on about Waco and David Koresh years ago. And then it was a series, it was an hour long, but it had about 6 series. I just stayed there the rest of the night, and I watched all them boys. But I couldn't leave. You know why? They were showing the truth about what happened. They showed what the FBI was in at that time. They showed Ruby Ridge, because they had shot, they shot the white man's dog. This is the first thing that we got to remember. And then they shot the baby out of a white woman's arm. Man, the FBI at that time had a bad reputation. And each one of those, the people wasn't doing nothing. And that's what they showed about Waco. The people, the sheriff was on their side, everybody. The country sheriff, David Koresh would call him on the phone and all kind of stuff. They was all into that community. They was living the good life. And they showed the attitude of the FBI, basically their dialogue, and they showed at the end how they just moved. They showed the tanks moving up to the place, pumping that CS gas in there, and we could see it on TV because we could see the fumes. And then Janet Reno said, there was no pyrotechnic device like a firecracker or something to light up that gas, but that's what they did. The tanks went in first, and they filled it up full of gas. And they burned up, all those children. And hey, man, the next year, that's when the Merrill Federal Building got blew up. And I called the FBI. I said, hey, the guy you arrested from Jordan, I didn't tell them all of that, but they hung up on me because they didn't want to hear what, they must have had my number, and they told me, we don't want to hear it. I said, well, white folks did that. That meant white folks either is with you or against you, but it's white folks. Why? Because the Merrill Federal Building killed all them children, all them FBI children. They killed them, blew them up. Why? Because in Waco, All them people, they blew up, they burned them children. Can you imagine? They just burned them alive. Then what I liked about it at the end, they said, whether it's true or not, here's what we do know. And they showed Arkansas in 1973. They burned up all the people. They showed 74 out there in California. I'm always talking about it. Symbionese liberation. They burned them alive, burned them up. There was a sheriff that shot 2 polices and he run off up in the hills near Big Bear in California. Let's say around 10 years ago. And the LA, especially LA police, they burned him alive. He was in a cabin and he wouldn't come out, they burned him out. They showed 3 or 4 situations where that's their style. I said, man, that's a good program. And then it makes you see how mean these people are. They're unbelievably mean. But I wrote it right here and I mean it. The more I see how mean they are, the more this stuff, love is the only answer. I'm not a hippie. I'm not none of them flower children, although I knew a lot of them. Yeah, I got pictures of all the stuff. That's why they don't have no Negroes. When I used to hang around with them, I'd hang around with the Negroes at nighttime and part of the day, and I'd go over to Haight-Ashbury. The reason I know so much about it is San Francisco. I'd drive across the bridge, and I wanted to know, what are these white folks about? You know, they had their utopia for a year or 2, a few months. Haight-Ashbury, you know, a whole free love, free, we just don't want to be bothered with you guys. Forget it. Them white folks moved in on them. Y'all heard of crystal meth, right? Crystal meth, LSD, for the Negro that had heroin and other stuff. Hey man, they just, we're gonna give y'all LSD because y'all like that funny stuff, and we're gonna run all you niggas. We ain't playing with nobody. This is the policy.
Yeah, they admitted that was like a testing ground.
Unbelievable, man. Now, you have options with those people. We've studied the options, and we do study. I don't care whether you believe it or not, or whether it sounds like it or not, but we study what are the options with these. Well, we could have a revolution, and we could kill them all. Well, that's not happened before. And one thing about revolutions, you're going to get into the Robespierre syndrome, White Army and Red Army, right? Formosa, the island of Formosa is Taiwan, or mainland Chinese, right? The good guys are going to kill all the bad guys or make it so bad on them that they go, you know what I mean? They coming in for the kill. And it's not that they don't deserve it. But within 3-4 weeks or a year or a while, guess who the good guys are going to be? They're going to be the bad guys. That's the sad ending of revolution. And the guillotine, Robespierre, and y'all may not have heard, the French Revolution, to the guillotine, off you go. Guillotine, like Gillette razors, you know, guillotine. Gillette, French razor. That's what they and cut your head off. Well, after the revolution in France, they were just running everybody to the guillotine. And the poor white lady said, let them eat cake, Marie Antoinette, and they just cut her head off. They didn't think it was funny. You know what I mean? No, hey man, And see, you have to look at how people are treated. When people are treated that bad, the last thing on their mind is going to be love and kindness. That's the last thing going to be on their mind. Why did we say, happiness is going fishing? Happiness is fighting this fight for decades. Decades and decades without ever succumbing to any fear of the system. See, in the early years, you get mad at the system. They're going to take my empire, you little petty, little ruler, you feel like one in your little neighborhood there. And the white man gonna take my empire. That's how you think about it. This is my show, and you be mad at the white man. You don't be scared of him. Scared of him is you nervous and all that stuff. Mad is when you be mad, and then you start adding stuff up. And it's like some of the people added up like one gang and another gang. They said, well, that gang got the law on their side. They can do it. And they got more arms and weapons than you do. And if you go get somebody to help you, they're going to subvert them. And they're going to go on their side. Because they're going to follow them around. You know what I mean? And find some case on them. A lot of truth is coming out in some of these. Did anybody see? Was that not Mercy and Love, but the guy that played Killmonger? He just made a movie, and when he's a lawyer down in Alabama, when he goes down to Alabama. I watched that last night. I just felt like watching something. And, when you see how, of course you know it, but when you see how other people are treated, you say, man, I'm the luckiest nigga in the United States. I already know that, because I tell boss man to kiss my behind, I make fun, I do all of that. And I ain't dead, you know what I mean? And the little old petty stuff, a little old sending a message about I owe $2. It's so ridiculous that actually I feel happy. Man, just walking out in the woods, yesterday was one of those days, today too, but yesterday was one of those real cleary days, the wind had cleaned it all up. And you just walking in the woods, it's nice. It's nice. And you say, man, it's nice to be alive. I mean, it doesn't cut martyrdom out of the picture like, I ain't gonna take no chances. Since it's so nice, I wanna kind of move in and stay here a while. No, not that. It's just that you're thankful, it's sad. Boss man just got a $2.5 trillion thing, right, for everybody. And then when the people that needed money, they fill out all the paperwork. They said, well, there's no more money in there. Why? Well, they gave the ability of the banks to distribute the money. One guy said on TV, he said, I don't have no more. He said, this is a guy that has a thing, I guess he's in LA or Korea. He's making free meals for all the people that's doing work, in hospitals and all of that. And he's doing that now. He said, yeah, I signed up for it. He said, well, did you get it? He said, when I got to the door, they said, it ain't no more money. That's why they got this thing. They got $500 billion. But you know what that is? Nothing. They didn't pump $6 trillion in this economy. And the only thing it's did is slow down the fall of the stock market. But don't worry. This is going to get into, I'm going to try to put it together about creating men and gin to serve me. First of all, let's look at the world. I be watching TV, and I don't believe it. I don't believe what they're saying. It's not only that it's about 48,000 people that died in America, inside of America, already, and then they have rumors that it's actually more than that. They haven't counted this, that, and other. But that's a lot of people. That's starting to get to be a lot of people. And this done moved from, remember it was creeping along, 100 dying a day, 300 dying a day, 200. Now it's up to about 3,000 people per day. 2,500 to 3,000 people every day that's dying. Don on the news the other day, yesterday, he told the people, rebel, rise up, talking about the vocabulary, he used the term liberate, right? So one of the governors wanted to kiss his behind in Georgia. He said, well, I'm opening up all the beauty parlors and the tattoo parlors. Now, one of the ladies on the news said, a tattoo parlor? Boy, you're going to have a good aim and a long needle to do any distancing in a tattoo parlor and a massage parlor too. Right? It's a massage parlor. So Don was on there yesterday evening and today. He said, no, I don't agree with that governor. He can do what he wants, but so Don told them one day to rebel and liberate themselves 3 days ago. When one wanted to kiss his behind down there in Dixie and open up, he said, I don't agree with that. And it's right there on TV. Everybody's seeing it. I want you to imagine what America looks like to the world. This is not once a week, every 6 months. This is every day. I'm telling you, I don't believe in TV, but I done got addicted to it. I'm sitting there because I can't leave it because I don't want to miss. Don said what? Then I got to know. Then so I can go and eat and get a little exercise and come back and guess what? Don done said something else. He done said something else. And the white folks are saying, he just fired one doctor. The biggest doctor and to take care of all or whatever it is, vaccines. Don fired him. He said, well, I never seen him before. I don't even know who he is. So the people, the news people, they say, whatever it is, Don and blew it. That's the way they look at it. And then, so he done got these other white folks, all of them are pretending to be mad at Don, except for Fox News. So Don can't do nothing right, as far as they're concerned, and they ride a broom on him all day, every day, about everything he say. So soon as they talk about him, he talk about them right back. And I mean, it's instantaneous, like it's watching a real live show. Like you watching CNN and they said da-da-da-da, and Don tweet right back, y'all ain't nothing, y'all kiss my behind. I don't care what, your mama's this. And Don, right, this is, now, look at the world. We want this oppression to end. It's normal. But this is the first time in history a system will be brought down with clownery and buffoonery. That's a surprise. Because everybody look, it's going to be a military victory, military defeat. See, Allah be hooking it up. Right? Allah be hooking it up. And they all waiting at the military barracks, you know what I mean? And it ain't coming that way. You tell the truth. We done all had hints of this. How many people thought it would be brought down by specific buffoonery and clownery? Nobody but us, because that's been our tactic all the time. Now, here's the part that may make that, see, in order to do this, your courage, you have to be ready for the next step. And Allah getting you ready for the next step, and then when Allah gets you ready, so what does this representative of the oppressed means? It means like boss man is going to have to repent publicly on this. Yes, he is. He's going to have to repent. Yes, he's going to have to repent. Tauba. Global repentance. National tauba. That's what they're going to have to do. Publicly. Why is that? Because as long as they keep playing around, whoever the representative of oppressed is, the longer they mess with him, the worse it's going to get for them. That's what we're saying right now. That's the message that the representative of the oppressed passed to me last night. Last night he said, look, man, don't worry about it. I said, what you mean don't worry about it? He said, he was talking about himself. He says, I'm the representative of the oppressed. And this happens historically. If it's during a prophetic era, it's a prophet. If it's during a religious era and it's Islam, it might be mujaddid, a reviver, a renewer, a restorer. And this period is a representative of the oppressed. That means that it ain't like, I don't even want to say, it ain't like, it's a reverse scapegoatism. Anybody know what a scapegoat is?
Yeah, like it's when basically you have someone take the fall for something bad to happen.
Right, and in Jewish history, a scapegoat was a goat that they brought. A scapegoat. They brought the scapegoat in, and they prayed all the sins on that goat and ran the goat out. I said, boy, those are convenient. They got some, they put all the sins. That's what a scapegoat is, technically. Boy, the Israelis is really, they can come up with some concoctions. And then they home free. There go all the sins right there. We free. We, for the next several hundred. Hey man, it's convenient. It's much more convenient than somebody dying for your sins and them taking the fall for humanity. And it's all you got to do is, well, anyway, it's very good though. You just believe that, and you're relieved of, your sins. The blood cleanses you and purifies you. Anyway, since we're not in a critical mood, we'll say that's good, that's great. Okay. Now this representative of the oppressed is a physical person that represents the oppression in Yemen, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Venezuela, represents all of that. And the United States is oppressing all of those people. And it's okay. Ain't nobody saying nothing about it. There's a few moans and groans here and there, but it's okay. Yeah. Why? Because Venezuela is communist. And Iran, just to report on that missile that Iran shot out with their satellite, you ought to see how they reported it. That is a threat from Iran
To our allies and to the people of the region and to us.
unbelievable.
Through America.
It's unbelievable. You can't make no progress. That's what they say to us too. You can't do nothing. Anything you do is bad.
Well, Pompeo said that means that we haven't done enough. That's what he said. We haven't put enough on.
Unbelievable. Can you imagine the kibber, the arrogance, the blindness?
That's the word.
Can you imagine how? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everything, look, I don't care how much you know. When you live through it, it's an honor and a privilege to live through this period and know that we're living through it. You got to remember, everybody not in tune with what they're trying to figure out. We'll get into it later. We go through Ramadan and have programs. We'll talk about what our move is. That's what this whole month. We're just going to do commentary on Quran. We probably do it kind of often, 4 or 5 days a week. And also guides for the future, what we can do now, what this period means. You got to remember, how many people is discussing this period right now like it is? Sure, they talk about it a little bit, but they're not discussing it like it is. So this representative of the oppressed, the more little letters they send like this, the more little nickel and dime stuff do, worse it's going to get on them. If they want a softer landing, they're going to have to repent. The other stuff, raising an army to bring them down, you raise the army, you'll be the only one in there that's there to fight. Everybody else will be boss man. We've been knowing that for long, decades and decades. It's just clear, okay? When we saw how that was, we said, okay, we'll play along with it. That's how we acquired all the property, acquired fame and all of that. What we'll do then is lay dead. We'll play like we believe that these guys, Abdul Malik and them, all the people used to come here, you know, that everybody's giving bayah and allegiance. We'll take your bayah. Right? We knew what it was decades before that. Why? Because of the rules. The church committee in 1975 laid out all the behavior of the counterintelligence program. We knew about it before, but we didn't have it until 1971 or 72, when they broke in the FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania, and the white folks stole all the records of the FBI. Then all of the things that they were doing and bragging about was there in the record. To this very day, we don't know whether the FBI broke in their own office to brag, yeah, we did, this is what we do to people. Because remember, if everybody knows what you do, you're gonna keep 80 and 90% of the people in line. Just, they'll know, hey, if I get out of line, they're gonna blow me away. If I get a line, they're going to Waco me. If I get out of line, right? People know that. Why do you think the Muslims act? Do you find any ayat in Quran that these big groups follow? Just one, or hadith. If you see wrong, fight it with your hand, right? They're not going to do that. Speak out about it if you can't do nothing. Speak out about it. Go find me an imam or anybody. They got these people here. First, they with Gore, and he gets beat. Then they go with Kerry. He gets beat. Then they said, well, finally they did get something with Obama, but Obama didn't. Obama went over there talking about love and peace and Muslimism, but there's more black people got killed under Obama than anybody else, right? I mean, good God Almighty. This place is so hypocritical. Now, can you imagine how happy we are right now? That there's nothing, we're going to leave here and go get something, maybe have a little something to eat and read a little more and get ready for Jummah tomorrow. That's what we're going to do. It is sad, though, because look what's happening to everybody else. That is one catch in this. That's why we're motivated to speed up a little, but the difference between time limits and the transitions that's happening in front of our face, if this stuff has been going on all these decades, why wouldn't we continue to trust in Allah in His timetable? We got certain things we got to do. Yeah, we got to be good Negroes, or the best Negroes we can be, to deserve Allah's gift. To deserve Allah's gifts and to be close to the, what do we call them? The representative of the oppressed. Now that's something for that fat-headed boss man. He got to humble himself and do tawbah. That's what he didn't expect. And nobody else expected because they'd be talking about it. The things that are happening right now are an exact replica of the things that happened in the past to make people submit. Yeah. The stuff with Pharaoh and all that, okay. Well, he had so many plagues. The plagues here. Do you know the news said, well, today the news said they showed bears, buzzards, and lions laying down on the highway in South Africa. Because, see, it ain't nobody coming around. So they showed the game wardens here in the U.S. said, no, there's bears everywhere. The bears is out. Everybody is partying. And can you imagine 20% clearer in the world? 20%, pop, just like that. Imagine when we done did it a year. And see, boss man can say anything he wants. Like, yeah, we want to get back to work. It don't make no difference. What is the thing? The people came out today with another 4 million. That means it's 25 million. 26 million unemployment. 26 million unemployed. You can't do nothing about it. Next year, next month, next week, it'll be 30. Well, somewhere like that. And the slide inertia is going to keep it going down. because there's nothing to keep it up. And then the stock market, the phony stock market, they could pump 10 trillion in that boy and it's still going to go down. When they finish, when they step back for 1 second, it's going to go headed down because nobody's going to buy anything because they're not producing anything. And guess what? Boss man got to pay them salaries or he'll get a rebellion on his hands. He might get one anyway. You know, rebellion, old time rebellion. Boss man ain't seen nothing yet. You don't know how this stuff is. Look, if they don't pay all of these salaries, let's say just for the next 3 months, can you imagine how many trillions of dollars that is? And then, won't nobody have no money. The rich people, even the wealthy people, will be just about pinched out their little money. And the poor people, can you imagine how stupid these people are? They went and gave all that money to the people, to all the big chains and Potbelly, whoever they are. And the guy, the little $200,000-$300,000 businessman, he don't give him nothing. When you get him mad, you know, the Bazaris in Iran, the Bazaris, the guys in the bazaar, when they turned against the regime, it was all over. It was the Bazaris and the Air Force. And look at this dummy. Do you know how many, I don't know no, it's all from Allah, how many ships right now are full? I heard a number 5,000. Anybody hear the number of ships that are packed? Huh? Oil? No, but of oil, yeah, but with the virus. Well, it's tons. It's tons.
Military ship.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you just type in virus aboard naval vessels, anything like that?
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't heard the number, but I've heard it's running through.
And then the captain, you know, they asked one of the guys, big guys yesterday, used to be big, he said, no, the man was just looking out for his men. And
Just said yesterday, there's an article for 26 U.S. Navy ships have reported cases of it. This is
26 ships
26 ships.
have how many cases? They don't.
Count on cases, just
26 ships. 26 ships. Now, you got to look at the chain reaction. First of all, they sent everybody to Afghanistan. They sent everybody to Iraq for the second time, and they.
40. I'm sorry, it's 40. 40 ships. Yes, 40 ships total. 26 have active cases, and they're saying that 14 other ones have had COVID-19 cases. But you can
Okay, what about the aircraft carrier? Did they get all the people on the Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah, they don't have that, but they did say about 3,500 U.S. service members have tested positive for the virus.
You think you see the people going in the hospital, they say, hey man, we ain't got no, they won't give us no, they want us to use the same old mask over and over again. And some of the people actually crying, real tears. They say, I fear going to work. Now, the people in the news call them heroes. Y'all is all heroes. They say, we heroes, y'all ought to look out for us then. What did they do with the heroes of 9/11? That went in there, all that stuff they had. Look, and the stuff is happening too close together. So it's fresh in everybody's memory. You know, the sailors is looking at, well, my uncle that was in the Gulf War, he then came back and killed himself, and then da-da-da-da-da, and they add all that stuff up together. And then, does the Navy love us? Sure, they love you. Your captain is trying to help you. We kicked him out and then was stupid enough to go talk about him. And everybody on the ship was chanting the captain's name. You know, huh? Call him stupid, undisciplined. Okay, and all he was trying to do, technically, he was in a bad organization, but he have to be a good man. If he say, hey man, I am responsible, bump the people upstairs, I'm responsible for y'all, and that ain't right, I ain't going for it. So, and everybody else feel the same way he do. Now, how's the morale of the people gonna be? And then you get things that go on every day. They got ships in the Gulf, and the ships in the Persian Gulf, they saying, the people on board know, right, that they agitating Iran. And they're agitating people in the area. And are they gonna be as willing to shoot? And people see that they underestimate when the Air Force broke in Iran with the Shah, that did it as one arm of the military. They got Marines with this stuff. They didn't close down their biggest base down there, Camp Lejeune. They didn't close down Camp Lejeune. They got it everywhere. And guess what they're saying? See, when it comes from Allah, it ain't nothing you can do about it. It's like if you let people mix, the death rate gonna go sky high. If you don't let them mix, that means you closing everything down. You're not gonna produce nothing. That means you gotta pay for them. It ain't cheap now. You gotta pay. Just imagine when it gets up in the millions. It's up 25 million, 26 million already. They gotta pay those salaries. The states are broke. Everything the states are saying, we broke. Who has to fund that? The feds, federal government. When Allah tie your hands is tied. If you go to sleep, you want to wake up, you're uncomfortable. If you wake up, you're uncomfortable and want to go to sleep. If you're sitting down, you want to stand up. If you're standing up, you want to sit down. You can't, you're finished.
That's how Donald Trump talks.
Huh?
That's how he talks. Everything is like that.
Yeah.
He says one thing one time, and then he says the opposite, or he says, I didn't say that. That's how he talks. That's how
He communicates like that. It's normal. It's normal. I'll tell you the truth. I knew something was up because we've been working on it, and thanks to Allah. But just for it to be just like that, I can see why people are not seeing it for what it is, because it just looks like something different or strange. But they don't look at it like God is instrumental in doing that. God is in that dummy's head, got him saying stuff, and next he gonna come up, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, he gonna be in there, everything. No, he gonna be, hey, look, do not underestimate. Allah gonna run that boy crazy. No, he gonna run him crazy, he's already. But imagine when he get even with old Sleepy Joe, whoever he is, anybody gonna whoop him on. But when he get to losing, and people get to talking about him, and he ain't punching like he was before, he gonna blow it. He might get up, white boys get up and they show their butt, they take their pants down, right? They do that. You ever see some people driving down the street, they actually stick their behind? Black people don't do that, at least they used to didn't. Huh? They stick their butt out the window. For what reason? I don't know. They just do it. Girls and boys, they stick their behind out the window. It looks like strap yourself in the seat. I believe that this boy is getting ready to go crazier. Real, I mean like hilarious crazy. He's already headed that way. He's already headed that way. This stuff is getting looser and looser. You got to remember, in the last 3 days, he done had several challenges. Now imagine when he go back home and eating them Big Macs and all that. Hey man, and all that stuff they put in the Big Mac. Hey man, this boy is getting ready to go crazy. No, he's not getting ready to go crazy. He's already gone crazy. I mean, you got to remember, he tells the lady, come on up. And the lady said, yeah, well, the little man, he said, hey man, it's worse than everybody's contradicting him in front of him. Before, they would sit there, they'd look stupid and say, Mary had a little lamb ring around the rosy, and then they'll hint that they're right all the time. But now they just say, no, this man here. Hey man, I was looking right at it. That's what Allah is doing. You got to remember, Allah brings things down according to its own nature. It's built in because it's built up and it's bring down is part of its own character. So Don got big selling wolf tickets to everybody, right? And that's what's going to bring him down. Going to confuse his words. They're going to have, I tell you what he's going to be doing. You know, way some of our co-religionists, they speak in tongues. Because you don't know what they say. You ever hear them speaking? And don't nobody know what they're saying. And then sometimes they have a lot of snakes. I said, those are garter snakes. There ain't no rattlesnakes in there. I don't see no, I've seen a couple of rattlers. There ain't no rattlers in there. You know, they have the snakes crawling off. I said, those are garter snakes. Right? Hey man, it ain't no rattlers. Why don't you if you so bad, right? Go get a couple of rattlers or them spitting cobras or something. Right? If you bad, yeah. And they be speaking in tongues. And every now and then you turn to a certain type of program. And you don't know what they're saying. And not only that, they don't know what they're saying. Can you imagine? So speaking in tongues. Anyway, Don gonna be speaking in tongues. He's already doing it, but this is just the first stage. Technically, I look forward to this period we're in. I really, every day is like, hey man, sometime I just lay there and listen to the news. I don't believe what I'm hearing. Let's let it run. Then you put on overseas news. Even Al Jazeera got pretty good stuff sometimes. Iran news, that's good. Or Iran Today, Press TV, and all other kinds of, you can blend it up. RT throws a little punch every now and then. And all their financial programs, you know. Hey, anyway, this representative of the oppressed, it's a reverse scapegoat, like all the sins gonna be, well, all their sins gonna go back from them out to them, and they gonna have to repent, really repent. National Tauba, right? They're going to have to cut all the arms sales, all their bad economic moves. I don't know, what was it, 64% of all Europeans are old people. You see that the 64% of all the old people that are dying in Europe, they're old people. 64% that are dying in nursing homes over there. 64% of Europeans. That's a war on the old. And over here, Latinos and Negroes and old folks. I only created men and jinn to serve me. Sometimes these people create things on their own and they get away. They get away. And in their wake, they leave. Say, for instance, we got a system that now, you know, my generation is growing. I'm considered what they call baby boomer. I mean, the first one. You know, actually from 1946 on up to 1960 or 70, they're baby boomers. Okay, I'm 1945, so I'm the chief baby boomer. And everybody is right behind me. It's a big bulge. You know, everybody used to be young in America. Drink Pepsi is the drinks this young. What do you see on TV now? You ever see commercials? For pads, right? Urinate pad, you go urinate, medicine. All that stuff is for old people. Everything, I don't see nothing. It's probably something for young. You take this pill and you take it once a week and then, of course, they do say you'll take one of these pills a week. There's no big deal. You could go blind. You could get back trouble. You could die. Can you imagine? I said, hell, I want the disease. If all of this, the little old disease, you may have a little rash on your skin, and the stuff tell the truth, the stuff they give you will kill you. Give me the rash. I don't care nothing about no rash, little old piece of rash, flake, something falling out my hair, and you got, look, they say it. Oh, that shit, there ain't nothing. If you feel a little funny, just go sit down a while, take a drink, but the drink may give you leg problems, back problems, head problems. You may be delirious. Delirious, right? This is what they're saying. And they don't, nobody thinks it's strange. Everybody is just, can you imagine everybody? Yeah, man, that's deep, that's all right. Yeah, ain't nobody like we talking now. They don't talk like that. The people they're just, that's why this is unique, man, to live through it and know what you're living through. For us, that's the way the 60s was. Other people didn't know. They talk about the 60s now. They didn't know what they was living through. After that, they said, man, look what that was really something. But we doing it now, and we know what's going on. I only created men and jinn that they serve me, that everything that the men, the ints, and the jinns do, it's not saying Allah allows it to happen, but in a way it's absolutely true, because it's the duty of the human being to get control of his nafs, to evolve, to lay control, lay nafs through the long-range purification process of Islam that makes all of that stuff unnecessary and invalid. Okay, so let me see here. We'll move toward a happiness. Okay, just a couple of announcements. Be worthy of Allah's plan, spiritual jihad. constitutional danger and dilemma. We'll talk about that another time. The need for $50,000. After Ramadan, we're going to go right back to Oakland and take care of all our legal stuff and demand, they haven't done it. You know, part of our demand, boss man got to give us, not us, me and you, $100 million because he's been a bad boy. That's the only thing I can say. Boss man has been a bad boy. Part of his tauba is giving us, I'm sorry, we won't do it again, and he can give us $100 million. You know, constitutionally, nothing that happens to us, the government doesn't have a right to do that. Nothing that they have done constitutionally. And even people that are with boss man, when boss man orders them to do stuff, they can see, everybody can see, that they don't have the right to do that. It's unconstitutional, you know. Yeah, it's unconstitutional. Not only is wrong, but it's unconstitutional according to their rag called the Constitution. They can't do that. So that's the period that I believe that we're in. We're in the period of the representative of the oppressed. As far as crisis management, I want y'all to look at the crisis and how Don handles a crisis, and you look at how we handle a crisis. Just add it up. How do we do in a crisis all the time? Every day is some dumb stuff. How did he do it, and how do we do it? Who's the one better psychologically, emotionally situated and with the maturity to handle people that agree and disagree? You have to have a lot of patience. This job, it looks like it takes decades to train somebody, because no matter if you have a good stature and everything, you don't perfect that for years. You don't just pop up and, yeah, I got this covered. It probably looks like it take decades. That's why longevity, Martin Luther King said in his last speech, longevity has its place. You know, but he's clearly telling everybody, I ain't going there with you. I'm not going to make it. You know, sometime boss man will send you a note saying, that's it, home, forget it. And when you get it, you know that's what it is. You know what I mean? When boss man, sometime, Malcolm said, well, you know the consequences of he said, I'm a walking dead man. You ever see that one? Malcolm said, I'm a walking dead man. It ain't no, and he told Martin Luther King, they had a meeting. A lot of people don't know. He said, he told Martin Luther King, he said, you're a glorious fool. You are a glorious fool. He said, but it don't make no difference. He said, one thing about me and you, we both dead. You can write that up. He said, me and you, we finished. Right? But not dead physically. I mean, physically, yeah. But Martin Luther King, next May 7th, 19th, it'll be Malcolm Day, right? He was martyred on the 21st. Martin Luther King, April 4th. All that stuff just passed, right? They're alive and well. In fact, we get tired of them trying to take us back to that era instead of forward to where we are now and beyond. And that's what we're going to be talking about. What we plan to do is make regular tafsir of Quran talks during Ramadan. Yeah, regular tafsir of Quran talks. And then we'll do some, I don't know, we'll have to look at the last half of Ramadan. We'll have to look at that, see if it's ready for, or the last 10 nights, we might start doing Taraweeh, and we'll have a feeling. That'll be about 20, 30 days, so now 20, 25 days, few days. We'll have a feeling for what we can do, you know. And even if we have to do Taraweehs separate, and even if we have meals, we can come up and, you know, we can have, if it's 4 or 5 of us or 10 of us at most, you know, we can separate. So this is a feeling that I have, that that's a feeling. But you know, 50,000, it ain't 50 yet, but it'll be by tomorrow evening. You know, 48,000 dead is numbers, you know what I mean? And, ain't nobody really reached the really, you know, that's why I see fighting the old bear, well, you can't hardly win, but at least it's something that, you know, or even amongst the white man. But these, whether created or developed, they be knocking people over, and they don't always, especially if you're a Negro and got a couple of years on you, that's what people tell me. So one night I come out the house, I tell you, this is the way they treat people. But no, really, our aim has always been to challenge the process. We don't like the world the way it is. This is not a good world. The earth and the land, all that is good. Allah created it like that. It's wonderful. But this guy is blowing it. And we'll leave it to him. See, this time, the transition, we have to get the people involved in their transition. That's one of the reasons we're going to be giving regular commentary. We want the people to get involved in their own transition. See, you can see the way this is happening. This is going to give people the opportunity to participate in their own transition. Because it don't make no difference what boss man is pretty close to finished on this one. There's no avenues. It's a few. If he get lucky, he might. And if the people don't pay no attention, it might go on, keep on moving. But it don't look like it. What we have to do is take advantage of the opportunity to influence our own direction, to influence others, to really invite people to good. That's why when we talk that love talk, look, every heavyweight throughout history, when they get, after so much experience, they come back to that same thing. L-O-V-E, love. Why? Because that's what it's for. And we went through our own transitions, and the thing that they do specifically is try to make you mad. I said, I'm sorry. I'm just not mad at nobody. I ain't mad at nobody. The people that act the way they do, I ain't nowhere mad at them. And I told them years ago, see, that's what delay is. Delay, you look up, and 2014, no, it was 2013. That's 7 years ago. For a lot of people, 7 years is a long time. To us, it was last week. We told Mukhtar and Khadijah in the front of the masjid, no, we're going to help y'all. We're going to help y'all. It's beyond, this stuff is beyond you. You're not aware of what it is. You think you're trying to prove yourself that you a good nigga to the white folks. That's bigger than that. You're trying to become acceptable to these people. What, the Abdul Malik them, the matchmaker? Look at their behavior. Shoot. Hey, man. Every now and then, just for sport, look at the people that's been cruising through. I told one of the Palestinians back there, big old Palestinian, he led prayer in our masjid for over 20 years. He got a case back in 1990, and he showed up at the masjid. Because I heard, he hung around with all Negroes, you know, one of them Palestinians, you know, they had a store right there. Still do have a store. Not that they sell wine and pork and all that, it's no big deal. But anyway, he jumped on the other side he was always on the other side. And he wouldn't offer no helping hand at all. I said, okay. Pretty soon, he had a $25,000 reward for his young son that went to our school there. You know, they all right there. And it said that the Latinos, you know, took out his son because he was trying to deal dope around there, and all the Mexicans think. Most of the Negroes is gone, so they, you know, they in pocket. Then 2 or 3 of his nephews, that mean his, because Arabs marry first cousins. You know, his father have children, him, and his father's brother have children. That guy can marry that girl. Negroes don't do that. We have kissing cousins. All of us had kissing cousins. That's what they called them. You know, all our relatives come from up there, down in the country. Hey, you know, who are you? Well, I'm your cousin. I said, shoot, that's good. That's great. Right? That's the kissing cousins. But these are like, you know, almost like technically it's a brother and sister almost. That's a little too close. But anyway, the nephews get blown away. And you know what? The guy still thinks that it's other stuff that's causing that to happen. He never thought, well, I lead the prayer for 20 years and, you know, I'm not living up to it. He don't add that stuff up. Hey, one of the guys mess up the car out there. And the other Sudanese brother know it. I told Tufel 8 or 9 years ago, something like that, because a guy would give money for our Ramadan, a little bit, not a lot, but a nice piece. And I told him, I said, that guy charged me that much for cars. He said, yeah, the poor guy, his mother and his sister died in an airplane crash. I said, yeah. You know. And so Tufel's, he was thinking that might have been strong language. I said, you can't play with no Islam, and you don't know which one. You just do not know. I mean, I actually said those. I intoned that that's how I felt about both of these things that I'm talking about, and hundreds of others. I said, man, you can't play with no Islam. And like, you know, I tell my family and everybody, I said, I was telling my daughters the other day, I said, you know, there's an old saying let's say, a little money missing here and there, no big deal. And I had opened the shop right there. I called it S&F or yeah, Sakina and Fatima's. That's what it was for. And then I said, okay. They could sit in there if they wanted, and I would make all the food, all that, and they could just sell it. They didn't want to do it. I said, okay, that's no big deal. So I just have videos, CDs, and everything's down there on the table. All they had to do was come in and stand there at Juma and collect money. They didn't have to put the stuff out. They didn't have to duplicate. They didn't have to do nothing. A lot of stuff you see, the old stuff you see on the tables, I put pictures on them and, all that. Because somebody was telling them. Basically, because Fatima said yesterday, day before, for the 900th time, if you was doing all that, Dad, they'd kill you. I said, that's what somebody told you. But evidently it ain't happening. I said, but the stuff that's happening is real. I said, I've heard that before. I said, one of the curly-headed brothers, he could do a ton, 50 million pull-ups or stuff. He said, Imam Musa, if you had 200,000 followers, they would kill you. I heard what he said. I said, so what? So it just might come in another door. But one thing about it, we ain't gonna never give up on the mission. We ain't gonna never get tired. We ain't gonna never quit. That's all I know. The other thing is, it's a privilege. Can you imagine coming through all that fitna back in the 60s and all that in the 70s, wandering around in the 80s, and then all of this since the 80s. This is fun. This is nice. Because imagine the people that don't make it. I mean, just age-wise, just if you live to be 75, that's not old, but it's getting old after a while. Another 10 years, nigga will be old. Oldish, I won't feel like it. And then to feel, to train yourself to feel the way you feel, not the way the tonic that the system give you. Because you'd have been tested everybody. I used to chase brothers down, very close brothers, to tell them how good I feel. To make him tell the white man to do something to me. How many times I tested? Let's say 10 to 15, because it worked every time. I would follow him around, tell him, yeah, boy, look, which was true. I just feel so good to find out for sure. To know when we say this happened, 10 trials is a small amount, but it'd be at least 10 trials, so we know what we're talking about. That is fun. And then I was telling my family the other day, I said, in 15 years, I'm going to give a speech that said, now that's just chitter-chatter, nobody know nothing about the future. But it's the vision. In 15 years, we say, that we'll be way into what's happening right now. And the people are going to ask us the question, how did you do that? And we're going to be explained. I said, they're going to have you on TV shows too, asking you, how did your father do this? How does it feel to be a part of? And you're going to have to catch up. You're going to have to listen to all of my CDs, because maybe somebody tell you don't listen to them and stuff. But the lesson, you have to try to understand what's going on. And you have to learn how to believe that your daddy gonna be alive till he die. And that's fine. and you don't have to cooperate with them to try to keep me alive because you love your daddy and you don't want nothing to happen to him, and you know how the mean the white folks is, and people are putting that in your head. So look at them people that put that stuff in your head. What have they done? Well, they did good at school. I say, yeah, they did good at school, as long as somebody's paying for it. Where are they at now? Where's the whole school? Where's all the people? They were dedicated. If they was dedicated, they'd have opened another school somewhere. They'd have hustled up the money, and they'd have loved the kids so much that they would have, right? They'd be, so they work for the government. Everybody works for the government. Abdul Malik works for the government. Mukhtar works for the government. Hell, everybody down there, excuse my language, they work for the boss man. They work for boss man. You know, that's a wonderful feeling to, hey man, it's a good feeling to get this far, this long, and we feel like we're getting started. We're evolving into another stage, and we have to grow into that stage. That's what we're doing now, transitioning into that stage. And everybody that's going along with this, whether they are a nation, whether they're an organization, they have to transition into this stage that we're in now, this newish type world. Yeah. Okay, new world visualization. Love is the answer. That'll be enough for today. But, yeah, shared vision and all of that. Are there any questions or comments?
So are we fasting tomorrow or Saturday?
No. Remember, the thing, it showed a picture of going across Colombia, the tip of Colombia, across part of the U.S., that would be visible under good conditions. Remember that? Okay, so when that's visible that much, we might as well start tomorrow. Yeah, we'll start fasting tomorrow. If we prayed Tarawih, we would pray it tonight, but we're not. But so we'll start tomorrow, inshallah. Yeah, the old crew. Sometimes you even have to start with. But you know, there's a masjid. They're really nice people. And they serious about them Ramadans and when they start, because they'll pray over what's the name, a day after everybody finished. They just won't do nothing revolutionary. So good God Almighty, how can you be that serious when you seen nothing yet, ain't heard nothing, and put out messages? If we don't hear nothing by then, I said, what about the boss man? You ain't heard nothing about him acting up or blowing nobody away or dragging nobody down the street? And then it's all right to have the flag on the paper, you know, and stuff like that, you know, Old Glory. You know, the people have idea. When they see Old Glory, they start fidgeting and acting funny, and they can put it on the paper, you know, what have you. So are there any more questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Is it close to Maghrib?